Welcome to Shanghai Pudong International Airport in China, where today I'm flying Singapore Airlines business class to Singapore and onwards to Bangkok. Everybody was lined up nice and early to check in for our flight, but everything was efficient and I quickly made my way to the lounge. Singapore contracts the Air China First and Business Class Lounge here in Shanghai, so let's head inside. This lounge was pretty large. It was 2 stories, which always makes for kind of a unique experience and something you don't see every day. After a long day out in Shanghai, once again, a airport shower comes in super clutch. I like that this lounge had all sorts of different seating areas with comfortable chairs against the wall, places to sit and eat, drinks you can just grab and go, and this dark movie room with comfortable couches that I could sit on and take a quick little snooze before my flight. Of course, I had to get a quick little snack, but I saved room for what would be on board. Today we're flying on a Singapore Airlines A350-900. Now, this aircraft is their regional business class product that is typically used on flights under 8 hours in duration. This seat is similar to the one you will find on Turkish Airlines on some of their newer aircraft. It's not a favorite of mine, but the service on Singapore Airlines will make up for it. We start off with a Bellini to get started. Now, I decided to check the bulkhead out for this flight because it's known for having a bigger footwell, but I was quite taken aback by how close it is to you and how narrow it still is. However, it's quite deep. As far as the rest of the seat, it's not too bad. We have our storage compartment with water, headphones, and all the plugs that we might need. The IFE controller is stored away there. And we take a look at today's menu. Because it's a red-eye flight leaving Shanghai at midnight and arriving in Singapore in the morning, it's mostly breakfast options. The tray table pulls out directly in front of you, which is nice, so no matter how much room you need or have, it's adjustable and not right against you. So as a larger guy, I definitely appreciate that. But it's time to take off, so sit back for our takeoff out of Shanghai. Now, one of my favorite things about Singapore Airlines is the creative cocktails they have on their menu. This pineapple punch concoction was no different. Super delicious. It was the perfect way to settle in for the 4-hour flight to Singapore. Now, even though our options for this overnight flight were mostly breakfast themed, we were served after takeoff instead of on arrival. I was okay with this so I could have a quick bite to eat before I get to sleep, and the meal was pretty basic, so this dim sum and fruit took no time at all to consume. I was a little disappointed for the options for dining on this flight, knowing it's Singapore Airlines, but I need to get some rest. This flight's really short, so let's put this seat into bed mode. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this seat, as I mentioned before. There's not a whole lot of personal space here. The shoulder room is a bit restricted, and that footwell, while my legs and feet definitely fit inside, there's really not a lot of room for motion. So if you move a lot in your sleep, you're not going to have the best time. But I was able to get a few hours of rest, and next thing I knew it, the lights were on and we were arriving into Singapore. I hate to complain about the seat because I am flying in business class and it allows me to sleep so much better than I would in economy. But I feel like an airline as well known and well regarded as Singapore Airlines really should offer a better product to their customers. But anyways, the next flight hopefully will make up for it. It's still dark as we arrive into Singapore and get ready for our layover. And welcome to Singapore. I did give myself an 8-hour layover today so I could head into the city and enjoy some of my favorites like the Super Tree Grove and the Maxwell Food Center, but we're keeping this to a flight review, so I found myself back in T3 a couple of hours later to check in for my next leg to Bangkok. We start this part of the journey by going to the Singapore Airlines Silver Crest Lounge in Singapore Changi International Airport. And guess where my first stop is? The shower to get freshened up after a quick lap around Singapore. Now this lounge is also quite spacious with many different areas to eat and relax in, and quite a bit options that you would expect from the buffet. Nothing that was too spectacular, but a good place to rest and get ready for my next flight. I may have fallen asleep and set off a few alarms in here, but I think everybody will get over it. Now, probably my least favorite part about flying out of the Singapore airport is you have to go through security at your gate as you board your flight. I really wish this process would be over with at the beginning of the experience like other airports, so that way I can go straight from the lounge to the airplane and not have to wait in line again. I think it just makes for a more enjoyable experience, but anyways, we're on the aircraft. It's the same seating configuration as last time, but I am in the smaller cabin in the rear of the aircraft this time, and since this flight was much shorter and a daytime flight, I opted to choose the window seat, which is generally my preference on any flight. Now this seat is more private since you're sitting away from the aisle. I'm still not a fan of that huge wing that blocks half the window and also restricts shoulder room, so kind of a weird design choice, especially on a true window seat. But we're settled in, and I am really excited for some of the food options on this flight. Plot twist, I'm not actually going to eat anything you see on this menu. Because this flight departed out of Singapore this morning, I was able to pre-order my food, which you will see in a little bit. But another Bellini to get us started. Love that they offer this option instead of just your typical champagne and orange juice. So we enjoyed that pre-departure beverage and sat back for our takeoff out of beautiful Singapore. And finally, the moment has come. I got to pre-order and finally try the Singapore Airlines chicken satay. This might not look like much, but dipping that chicken in the peanut sauce is absolutely divine. And no better way to end an experience on Singapore Airlines than with a delicious Singapore sling. Now, while this product is definitely not my favorite, and the first flight was honestly a little disappointing. All I think about now when I think about this Singapore Airlines regional business class product was that chicken satay. It was that good, and that's my memory from the flight, and the reason why I just still love Singapore Airlines. Now, this flight is really short, a little bit over an hour, so as soon as meal service was completed, we started our descent into Bangkok, and video does not do justice to the skyline view coming into Bangkok. It's honestly something very similar to what you might see in Manhattan when you're arriving into JFK. Truly remarkable. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name of the airport, but welcome to Bangkok, Thailand. It's still quite shocking to see how many Thai Airways aircraft are still sitting out here not being utilized. Hopefully that continues to change as we move our way through 2024. I hope you enjoyed coming along with my flight on Singapore Airlines, and we'll catch you on the next one.